Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a
What's
light
your
on
story?
incredible. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the Community Relations Manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney, focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Marisa Hamamoto, the founder, CEO, Artistic Director of Infinite Flow Dance. Welcome, Marisa.
Hi, Josh. It's been a while. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you on and for people to learn more about you and all that you do. So let's dive right into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I am a stroke survivor. And specifically, I'm a spinal stroke survivor. At one point in my life, when I was a college student, 2006, I had a stroke in my spinal cord, which paralyzed me from the neck down. So in a way, I was a temporary quad, but I don't really like using that phrase. But there was a time in my life where below my neck, I couldn't move. This big incident, or life-changing incident, I should say, eventually led me to create Infinite Flow, which is a nonprofit and professional dance company that employs disabled and non-disabled dancers. Infinite Flow's mission is to create a more inclusive world, one dance at a time. And we strive towards creating a world that is accessible and inclusive where everyone can thrive. Besides that, in regards to my disability identity, I was recently diagnosed with autism as well as PTSD. These are things that I think I know I've had for a while, but I got a diagnosis over the pandemic and still processing, but these diagnoses for these non-apparent disabilities have given me more clarity than confusion.
And with the invisible disabilities, it's being able to have that diagnosis. Have you found like now you're able to have more tools or be able to have services brought to you to have those tools to approach things differently? Or what's that transition been like to have those diagnoses officially stamped?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So for me, all these challenges I've had over the years, whether it's being socially awkward or having noise sensitivity, some of these things, I thought there was something wrong with me. Like there was something wrong with me. So I would beat myself up or I would go into a depressive state because I just kept on thinking that I wasn't good enough and talented enough and just wasn't enough, and to the extremes, So these diagnoses just told me that, oh, there isn't anything wrong with me. I'm not broken. This is just part of me. I'm not the only person that is dealing with this. There are many neurodivergent people in the world. And yeah, so it just kind of made me go, okay, I'm just a little different from everyone. And there is nothing wrong with that. Right, Josh?
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it makes me that much, I don't know if I like the word special, but it makes you that much more you and knowing yourself. And that gives you the ability to kind of move forward with that knowledge and what to do next. And I know
Absolutely, yeah.
what you've been
Absolutely.
doing
Mm-hmm.
over your career or your life. You've had a passion for dance tell me about that. When did that passion for dance develop?
So I would say my passion for dance started when I was 5 years old. In context of this, I grew up in Irvine, California during the 80s and 90s. And Irvine at this time was a predominantly white city. And me being Japanese American, my family was a minority. And at school, I got picked on for looking different. And I learned at school that our differences can divide us. The highlight of my week was this once a week ballet class after school, where even though I was the only dancer of color in class, something about moving my body to music with the other girls made me feel like I belonged. And so, though I was like only 6 and 7 at this time, I had discovered the power of dance to unite us despite our differences. So, and I mean, at this time, at 5 and 6 and 7, of course, I don't know the words like belonging and inclusion, but dance was this medium and this activity where I felt safe to express. I felt like I belonged, and it was just this really happy place in my life. And so it just grew on me over the years. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
And with Infinite Flow, it's amazing how you teach wheelchair users, people with blind, low vision, anybody of any ability. You teach dance. How do you approach that? Like you're so good at it.
Yeah, well, what I like to let's put it this way. I'm still trying to figure this all out. So it's not like I know I'm like a super expert at this. I would say I am a constant work in progress at learning how to be inclusive, whether it's in dance or in other parts of work and life and business. But I do first and foremost believe that the core of inclusion is heart. And I like to say that more than mindset, it's like a heart set that we carry. And one of the first heart sets is that we are all different. And it's really awesome that we're all different. And there's no need to change who you are to accomplish something. So in the context of more of practice within dance, I would say, and this is, again, I'm sure that people have different opinions about this particular concept, but one of my heart sets and mindsets is to use the word translate and not adapt. When we think about adaptive clothing, adaptive dance, adaptive sports, it's almost as if there is a standard body that we want to conform to. Like, I think, like, let's just take wheelchair rugby. Why can't we just call that rugby? Does it have to be wheelchair rugby? I mean, rugby is rugby as far as I'm concerned. And same thing with dance. Do we have to call, let's say a wheelchair user dancing? Do we have to call that adaptive dance? Because the reality is we all have unique bodies and we are all translating movement into our own unique bodies. And so there is no standard body that we need to conform to. So just that thought process that there is no hierarchy in bodies, each body is unique, and we can create, express with our own unique bodies. That's it. That's it. It's not that complicated. So because not that the word adapt is wrong, but because adapt has been so ingrained in society of connecting it to disability, like right now we use the word translate, but basically the idea here is that, like, when we use translation, it might be a traditional body learning from a non-traditional body. It's not always a non-traditional body learning and copying a traditional body, So that mindset is imperative, as well as oftentimes I think especially when I'm coaching other movement educators, dance educators, on how to be more inclusive. And I'm thinking right now particularly of an organization that I've consulted for recently that teaches ballroom dancing to fifth graders. And occasionally they do have students that have disabilities that require a little bit more accommodation and translation than, let's say, the usual. And oftentimes, the teachers their hearts are in the right place, but they feel like they need to kind of dumb down the curriculum or have to have to approach this particular student with a disability ultra carefully. But no. Let's bring them up. Let's meet them where they're at. But part of dance is also this. I think part of learning dance, learning dance. Part of the fun comes from being able to get out of your comfort zone and learn something new and being challenged. And so we don't want to discount that experience from someone with a more obvious disability.
We want to meet them where they're at and not hold them back. So doing that
Exactly.
simultaneously. I would
Exactly.
love to know what motivates you every single day.
What motivates me every day? Well, okay, if I were to speak freely about that, definitely as a leader in the space of disability advocacy and disability inclusion, this mindset of small actions lead to big change is does drive a lot of what I do, in the sense that sometimes it's, building a business and running a nonprofit and trying to make things happen is not easy. And sometimes things move very slowly, but just trusting that, these small things that we are doing are going to eventually add up, or going to have a ripple effect to create the changes that we want to see. So that's that. I
I
think
like
also
that.
this is something that I learned the hard way, is that, serving others starts with serving ourselves first. I won't lie, I got burnt out quite a bit through building Infinite Flow, and I'm still passionate with everything I do, but there came a place where I forgot to take care of myself and serve myself. And serving yourself in self-care is very different for everyone. In my case, a big portion of self-care and serving myself is to continually grow as an artist individually. Like, so, and how that has manifested actually over the pandemic is, I started roller skating, started learning a new skill. I started tango dancing, and okay, tango is like, part of what I do as a dancer too, but I had never really dived into learning tango, seriously. So, this idea around continuing to develop my own artistic creative skills is a big part. Another part of this is that I always felt like whenever I spoke about disability inclusion, it was always as a spokesperson of Infinite Flow. And I realized that, yes, I'm a spokesperson of Infinite Flow, but I'm also Marisa, and Marisa has her voice. And Marissa's voice and presence and identity matters. And especially as someone that is at the intersection of being Asian American and having non-obvious disabilities, sometimes I felt like I had to almost erase that identity to be a spokesperson of Infinite Flow. And not because that is, my identities are bad, but it's where there's just so much to advocate for and speak about that didn't get across. So recently, and I'm still working on this, it's like I'm now like working on developing my voice and presence as Marisa. So Marisa, Infinite Flow is part of Marisa, but all of Marisa is not all of Infinite Flow, and vice versa. So
Thank you for sharing that. And I got one more question for you, and I love
yeah,
asking this question. What does accessibility mean to you?
accessibility to me. Okay, this is going to sound really woo-woo, but for me, accessibility is a form of love. And it's a form of being able to provide access to people of all sorts, and being able to thrive together because of that. And I think like accessibility, I believe, should be a foundation of any society across the world. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be felt like a burden. I believe accessibility is not a luxury, it's a human right, period. And it's an act of love, it's an act of service. It's not about like, it's not compliance. Okay, this is like where I get a little bit like, when I see, especially like when I see like titles of people, when I see like accessibility director compliance something of another in their role. And I'm like, is accessibility, is that it? Compliance? Or is this just about checking boxes so that we don't get like sued? Is that what it is? No, accessibility is there to create a more inclusive world so that we can all thrive together. And it's not just about serving disabled people. Accessibility is like the foundation of society, period.
I love that. Adding more love, adding more accessibility together, love with accessibility. It's a beautiful world that we would have in front of us. But Marissa, thank you so much for being our guest today on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. I cannot thank you enough for your voice and all that you do.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much for having me. So nice to connect with you again. And I look forward to seeing how accessiBe continues to create accessibility.
Thank you, Marissa. And to all of our guests, thank you so much for staying to the end. accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us at accessiBe_community. And as always, thank you for being on this journey with us. Bye, Marissa. Bye, everyone.